I, female, 31, have been working at Paragon Marketing for almost 4 years as a senior marketing strategist. I took the job after moving to the city following my divorce from my college sweetheart. We were together for 8 years before I found out he was cheating with a coworker. Cliché, I know. I've basically been throwing myself into work ever since as like a coping mechanism. My therapist says it's not healthy, but whatever. It's at least helped me move up professionally, so I guess that's something. So anyway, about 7 months ago, our company landed this huge potential contract with an international client that could literally double our annual revenue. My boss Phil, male, 44, who's the marketing director, well, was the marketing director, but more on that later, put together this small team to create a strategy proposal. At first, it was supposed to be collaborative, but then almost everyone got pulled to other urgent projects, which meant I ended up doing like 80% of the work myself. I'm not exaggerating when I say I worked my ass off on this project. Late nights, weekends, the whole thing. I missed my cousin's baby shower because I was stuck at the office finishing research, which my aunt still brings up every time we talk. Ugh. I developed these innovative approaches that got really good feedback during our internal reviews. Phil even said it was the most comprehensive proposal he'd seen in his 15 years in the industry. I should probably mention that I used to really respect Phil. When I first joined the company, he kind of mentored me and seemed to appreciate my work ethic. But I've noticed he's gotten weirdly obsessed with impressing the executive team ever since his second divorce last year. He's always complaining about his alimony payments after a few drinks at happy hours, which is super uncomfortable, by the way. Anyway, 3 weeks ago, I finally completed the final presentation after months of work. I shared it with Phil for review since we were supposed to present it together to the executives that Monday. He told me he'd make a few tweaks over the weekend and we'd present it together on Monday morning. I was really proud of what I'd created and was excited to show the higher-ups what I could do. So Monday morning comes around. I show up in my best suit, the one I had to put on my credit card because I'm still paying off debt from my divorce. But I thought this presentation was worth it. I'm ready to go. And then Phil comes up to me and says the meeting got moved up and he handled it already because I wasn't at my desk when the executives wanted to start. Where was I? The bathroom. I was in the bathroom for maybe 5 minutes. I'm not kidding. I was confused at first, but then later that day, a coworker congratulated me on Phil's amazing presentation, and I was really upset. I went to Phil's office to talk to him about it. I asked him why he presented without me, and he claimed it was a last-minute schedule change, and he couldn't find me. When I pointed out that my name wasn't anywhere on the presentation file, he said he simplified things for clarity because the execs hate too much detail. When I asked if he took credit for my work, he told me we're a team and individual credit doesn't matter. He said I was being too emotional about it and that it would look petty if I talked to the CEO about my contributions. And then I just backed down. I couldn't believe what was happening. He had this smug look on his face, like he knew I wouldn't do anything. A week later, Phil got promoted to VP of Marketing based largely on the strength of his innovative approach in the presentation. My innovative approach, my work, my ideas. I wanted to scream. I considered quitting on the spot, but I can't afford to. I'm still paying off debt from my divorce and supporting my mom who lost her job a few months ago. I tried speaking to HR, but they said without documentation of my contributions, there wasn't much they could do. I know I should have saved all my drafts and emails showing my work, but I honestly never thought someone I trusted would do this. I'm usually not this naive, I swear. And then, oh my God. Yesterday, Phil announced that the company is throwing him a celebration party for his promotion. Guess who he's assigning to plan it? Me, because I have such great attention to detail. I wanted to throw up right there in the meeting. I'm totally fine with planning the party. It's whatever. It's just part of the job. It's fine. But I literally spent my entire lunch break crying in my car yesterday. I can't stop thinking about how unfair this is. How am I supposed to plan a party celebrating the guy who stole my work? Am I overreacting here? What would you do in my situation? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the comments and support. To answer some common questions, no, I don't have any emails or documents proving the work was mine. I did most of it on our shared company drive, and he had access to everything. Lesson learned the hard way, I guess. A few people asked about other coworkers who might back me up. The team members who were originally assigned to the project but got pulled away might know how much I contributed, but they're all junior to Phil and probably wouldn't risk their jobs to help me. And yes, I've thought about looking for another job, but the market is terrible right now in my city, and I have bills to pay. I can't risk being unemployed for months. Edit 2. For those asking if I confronted Phil more directly, I tried, but I'm honestly not great at confrontation. I freeze up. It's a whole thing from childhood stuff. Plus, he's now my direct supervisor with this promotion, so I'm scared of retaliation. Now for the first update. My boss took credit for my work and got promoted. Now he's making me plan his promotion party. So a lot has happened since my last post, and honestly, it's only gotten worse. Thanks to everyone who commented and gave advice. I've been trying to take it all in, but everything is just moving so fast. First of all, yes, I'm still planning Phil's stupid promotion party. It's scheduled for this Saturday at this fancy restaurant downtown that he insisted on. I suggested 3 different venues that were nice and within the company's budget, but he rejected all of them, saying they weren't impressive enough for the executives. The place he chose is double our normal budget for company events. I get that he wants to celebrate his big promotion that he got from my work, but whatever, I'm not bitter or anything. But this is too much. He's been micromanaging every detail too. The menu, the seating arrangements, the napkin colors. I know how to plan an event. It's literally part of my job. Oh, and while planning this, my cat Jasper got sick and I had to rush him to the emergency vet at 2 a.m. Cost me $1,200 I don't have, but he's okay now. And yes, I still had to be at work at 8 a.m. the next day for a call with Phil about the party menu. About 3 weeks ago, Phil started texting me outside of work hours with questions about the party. At first it seemed normal, just checking on reservations, asking about the guest list. But then the texts started coming later at night, like after 10 p.m., sometimes close to midnight. And the content changed. He started complaining about his wife Heidi, female, 38, in these messages, saying she doesn't understand his position and isn't supportive, which is BS because from what I've heard, she gave up her own career in pharmaceutical sales to raise their kids. And then he started with the compliments at work. That outfit works for you, and you should wear your hair down more often. I didn't think much of it until my coworker Sarah, female, 29, pointed out that he never compliments anyone else like that. She pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay with Phil and me. That's when I realized something wasn't right. Last week, we had a planning meeting in his office that made me super uncomfortable. He asked me to close his door, then commented on my dress and asked if I bought it for someone special. When I tried to focus on the party details, he moved his chair way too close to mine and kept brushing his hand against mine. He also suggested we share a ride home after the party and got weird when I said I would leave early. He said I owed it to him to stay. I just nodded because I didn't know what to do. 3 nights ago, Phil texted me at 1:17 a.m. asking if I was awake. Then he sent more messages about how he was thinking about me and how we make such a good team. I didn't respond until morning with something professional about the party. At work the next day, he acted completely normal. I showed the messages to my friend Brian, and he said I should report Phil to HR. But what's the point? Phil is even more powerful with his new VP position, and HR didn't care when I tried to talk to them about him stealing my work. I need this job with my mom still unemployed and my credit card debt. I'm looking for another job, but it's hard. I've only had 2 interviews in the past month, neither worked out. I'm not attracted to Phil at all. He's older and he's married with kids. But I keep wondering if I gave him the wrong impression by being friendly. I try to be nice to everyone. Maybe he misinterpreted that. I hate that I'm questioning myself about this. Yesterday was the worst. He texted me at 11:43 p.m. saying he was working late and needed me to call him about urgent party detail. I didn't call him, and he sent 3 more messages, with the last one at 1:22 a.m. saying, "I know you're probably just playing hard to get." I felt sick reading that. I've been taking screenshots of all these messages, but I don't even know what I'm going to do with them. It feels like evidence of something. But evidence for who? HR doesn't care, and I can't afford to lose this job. And to make it worse, I found out that Phil's wife Heidi is actually planning to attend the party on Saturday, which is weird because Phil has told me multiple times that Heidi never comes to work events because she doesn't like to socialize. so that was clearly a lie. I'm having anxiety attacks about this party on Saturday. I have to be there early to set up, which means I'll be alone with Phil for at least an hour. Then I have to avoid him all night while making sure everything runs smoothly, and deal with meeting his wife, who he's been complaining about in late-night texts to me. I'm so exhausted. I haven't been sleeping. Jasper is the only one keeping me sane right now by demanding cuddles. Edit, holy crap, this blew up again. Thanks for all the support and advice. I'm trying to read through all the comments. Edit 2. To those asking why I don't just forward the text to his wife, I don't know her or have her contact info, and the thought of getting involved in someone else's marriage makes me uncomfortable. Plus, what if she doesn't believe me? I'd be in an even worse position. A lot of people are suggesting I record conversations with Phil. I should mention I live in a two-party consent state, so I'm pretty sure that would be illegal. But I will keep documenting everything in writing. Yes, I've considered telling my boss's boss or someone higher up, but I'm scared of what might happen. Phil is really well liked by the executives, especially since he presented my work as his own. I'm afraid they'd take his side, and I'd end up without a job. Now for the second update. Wow, where do I even start? So much has happened since my last post. First of all, thanks to everyone who commented and gave advice. I was seriously in a dark place and your support meant everything, even if I was too overwhelmed to respond to most comments. So the party happened on Saturday night. But let me back up, because the days leading up to it were a complete nightmare. After my last post, Phil's texting got way more inappropriate. On Thursday night, I was literally just trying to watch some stupid Netflix show to distract myself when my phone buzzed at 12:48 a.m. It was Phil, of course, saying he was thinking about how good we could be together, and that his marriage was basically just for show at this point. I literally felt sick reading it. I didn't respond, obviously, but I couldn't sleep after that. Anyway, Friday at work was honestly the worst. I was trying to avoid Phil all day, but he cornered me in the copy room in the afternoon. Literally positioned himself between me and the door. He suggested we should get a drink alone, after everyone left the party on Saturday. When I tried to make up some excuse about needing to leave early, he put his hand on my lower back. And said his wife goes to bed early anyway. I think I just nodded or mumbled something. I honestly can't remember. I was just focusing on not throwing up right there. As soon as I could get away, I locked myself in a bathroom stall for 10 minutes, trying not to hyperventilate. Friday night, I couldn't sleep at all. I just kept scrolling through all his messages from the past few weeks, watching them get more and more inappropriate. I mean, he started with checking on party details and ended with basically propositioning me while insulting his wife. I was so angry and scared and confused. I called Sarah at 1 a.m. and she pointed out that Phil had clearly been lying about his wife not attending company events. We'd both seen Heidi at the holiday party last year. Sarah suggested that maybe Heidi should know what her husband was doing. I hadn't even considered that option. I spent hours debating what to do. I mean, I didn't want to hurt Heidi, but I also felt increasingly trapped and violated by Phil's behavior. And let's be real, I was still furious about him stealing my work, getting promoted for it, and then making me plan his stupid party. At around 3 a.m., I made a decision. I compiled all the messages, especially the ones where Phil claimed to be working late when he was actually sending me creepy texts, and I found Heidi's email on her real estate business website. I wrote a brief message explaining the situation and attached screenshots of everything. I felt physically ill after sending it. What if I just made everything worse? What if she didn't believe me? What if she told Phil and he fired me? What if she thought I was trying to break up her marriage? I honestly didn't expect her to even respond. Saturday morning, day of the party, I checked my email and saw a brief message from Heidi that just said, "Thank you for your honesty. I'll handle this." That's it. No emotion, no questions, nothing. I had no idea what that meant or what she was planning to do. I was a complete wreck getting ready for the party. I took 3 showers because I kept having anxiety sweats. Gross, sorry. I got to the restaurant early to make sure everything was set up properly. I was checking the place settings for the 3rd time when Phil showed up. He immediately stood way too close to me while we were reviewing the evening's schedule. He whispered that I looked stunning and we should find a quiet corner to talk later. I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe. Then Heidi arrived and everything went to hell. She walked in looking totally calm, but with this determined expression. She was carrying a large envelope. Phil seemed surprised to see her so early. The other guests weren't due for another 30 minutes, but went over to greet her with a kiss. She turned her cheek and handed him the envelope without saying anything. Phil looked confused and was like, "What's this?" And Heidi told him, loud enough that I could hear from across the room, to open it. Oh my God. His face when he opened that envelope and saw printed screenshots of all his messages to me. I will never forget it as long as I live. He went from confused to shocked to angry in like 2 seconds. Heidi asked him, in this super clear voice, if he was actually working late when he sent those messages. Phil tried to grab her arm and pull her aside, saying, "Not here." But she just stood her ground and refused to move. By this point, some of the early guests were arriving, including a couple of executives. Everyone was staring. I was frozen in place watching this whole thing happen. Phil looked at me and actually hissed, "What did you do?" And then Heidi revealed that this was the third time she'd caught him harassing female employees. Third time. I felt like I was completely shocked. Phil started claiming I was unstable and had been pursuing him, which is such complete BS. Then Heidi said she'd already spoken with Sarah, who confirmed my story. The CEO, who had just walked in, came over and asked what was happening. Heidi handed him copies of the messages and mentioned the project theft thing too. Phil looked like he was about to pass out. The CEO immediately took Phil and Heidi into a private room. A few minutes later, someone came to get me. I was shaking so bad I could barely walk. In that room, I told them everything, the inappropriate messages, how Phil cornered me, and how he'd taken credit for my work on the major project. The CEO looked more and more disturbed as I talked. He actually apologized to me and asked me to document everything formally for HR. Heidi left shortly after that. As she was leaving, she told me this isn't the first time, but it will be the last. She seemed so calm, but like scary calm. Phil was escorted out by security. He kept muttering about how this was a setup and everyone would regret this. It was surreal. The party was obviously canceled. I went home and basically collapsed. I slept for like 14 hours straight. Monday morning, the CEO announced that Phil had been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. He asked me to present my original work on the major client project to the executive team this week. He also mentioned that once this is all resolved, they'll be reevaluating the leadership structure, which I think means I might get promoted. I honestly don't know. A mutual friend told me Heidi filed for divorce on Monday. And get this, several other women at the company have now come forward with similar experiences with Phil. Apparently, this was like an open secret that nobody talked about. How did I not know this? I'm still processing everything. Like, should I have handled things differently? Maybe confronted Phil more directly. I don't know. I'm starting therapy again next week to help work through all this. Part of me feels guilty about potentially breaking up someone's marriage, even though I know that's not really on me. Phil did this to himself, but I still feel weird about it all. Conflicted. Relief mixed with guilt, mixed with anger, mixed with validation. Anyway, that's where things stand now. Thanks again to everyone who commented on my previous posts. Your support and advice really helped me through this nightmare.